So today I just thought I'd show you where we are with the nickel metal hydride into the lithium car. Now I do have an issue currently with my setup, so I'm just going to turn the car on. So at the moment we can see everything appears normal, no IMA light, etc, etc, and I've just turned the ignition on. I haven't started the engine, and I'm using my OBD device to send various packets and to receive various packets, to make sure that the IMA light is off. Okay, so that all looks good, and start the car. I also hear the fan go on, but now you can see the red DC to DC converter light is flashing there, or was flashing there very briefly, and that does do that occasionally, but the DC to DC converter is definitely working because I can hear the fan in the back working at the same voltage. It's not cutting in and out and jumping up and down, and I've also tried disconnecting the control signal for the DC to DC converter from the motor control module, so it should default to its normal on output all the time, and it does, but we still get the flickering red light here even though the DC to DC is working correctly. So there's obviously a message error here, and unfortunately that causes this to bong every couple, occasionally it will do its bong noise and tell you that the DC isn't charging, which in fact it is. I've also swapped out the DC to DC, and that made no difference either, and disconnecting the control line was the sort of confirmation really that it's not actually the DC to DC which is not working, which is a signal which is not being received correctly, and for some reason the MCM is flashing this DC to DC to D light, but the car is actually working fine, and so is the DC. So that's where I am at the minute. I'm a bit stuck at that. I haven't tried my HDS again at the moment, but it wasn't working yesterday, so I don't know why that is. If I can't get that working and I can't fool this or stop this coming on, I will probably revert back to the lithium and just see if the car is okay and works okay with the OEM pack. You can see how you heard a bong there as the 12 volt battery light came on, but the DC to DC is working, so it's an erroneous error that I need to try and get rid of, and then we'll go from there. So that's where I am at the moment, tinkering around trying to use my CR control device here. So if I'll just show you a bit briefly this. What it's actually doing is it's receiving a 166 packet, it's transmitting a 1E2, 313 and a 585, and I can turn these on and off by pressing this button here. So in fact if I press it left here, it's now transmitting the 385 as well as all the others. If I do manipulate this at all, the red light goes off for a little while and then comes back on again. Now the key one is the 1E2, that is the IMA error packet. So if I disable that by pressing down, you'll see that we're going to get an error very shortly. Yeah, so we get an error immediately. That's the IMA suppression code. So if I toggle that back on, you can see that the IMA error goes away, and the DC, everything's working normally. It's just this flashing red light here which is a bit annoying, so I need to try and work out what packet that information is in, and then try and suppress it or do something about that, because that is slightly annoying. And then if I can't get that fixed, then I'll just leave it as it is. We know the car works perfectly alright. If I turn all this gadget off, we know the car works just like this with the IMA light on, with the nickel metal hydride pack. But obviously if you are trying to pass inspection, you see I've still got this flashing. I don't think our colleague or friend in forgotten where it is, Pakistan is it, with the other lithium car with the problem, he's now got a nickel metal hydride pack in it, and I don't know whether he's got this flashing DC to DC converter signal, because he hasn't got any sort of fooling device. Anyway, I'm rambling on enough now. I'll continue to do a bit more testing, but I'm away on holiday next week and I've got to get the car back into normal working order for that, because I'm taking this vehicle, so I'll have to put the lithium back in for that, just to make sure that we manage to get on holiday successfully.